We have
2 minutes.
President very much like to restore room to an empty stage. It's an empty stage. Okay.
You cool?
I'm freezing today.
So you
That store's so cold.
next week.
I'm not upstairs.
I know, not upstairs, no.
That's a lot of work I think they gotta do when they get all that stuff out of it.
Yeah, a little bit.
Upstairs is
They want us
so hot.
Who do they want to do this?
We don't have any duties until.
A lot of stuff.
next year.
Where are they gonna put it?
Yeah, it's not good. Your husband did.
It's accumulated over there.
Oh, no, I know, but they want the road crew to help out.
I know.
We wrap up.
Got to see Dick at the fire station meeting yesterday. That was nice.
I met with our road crew today. All the way in met them all. We had coffee down there in the garage and that was cool.
So, before we start the meeting, everyone can wear masks would please wear masks while you're sitting, but if you do talk, you can unmask so it's easier for everyone to understand and hear you.
Julie, did Julie get those pictures I left?
Oh, I wasn't sure who those were from.
Those are from me.
She-
It's actually from Joanne Sutton.
Oh, she'll be in tomorrow. She was off Monday.
All right, I think we will start with our meeting. And as always, I like to start with the Pledge of Allegiance. So. I pledge allegiance to the flag with the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. All right.
It's the only time I take off my hat.
Hmm?
It's the only time I take off my hat.
Thank you. I appreciate that, John. All right, so we have the minutes. Have you both had a chance to look at the minutes from the last meeting?
Yep.
Any questions or changes?
I have none.
I will take a motion to approve the minutes then.
We'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
I will second.
Thank you, John. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Sign here. And then we have two non-public minutes, and I'd like to know if you would prefer to keep them sealed. And I personally think we should, so
Go with that.
let's.
Make a motion to seal the minutes then, from the two
For-
non-public from last 2 weeks ago, right? When was that date?
Okay. Second.
June 8th, June 8th
June 8th.
officially.
Yep. And all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
You gonna take her right off?
Hmm?
You gonna take her right off these folks, or
Am I gonna what?
take them right off and get to that, or do you just go through? I'm just curious as to how. you-
It's really the second one up there,
Okay.
so I think we're good.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you. Sign here, please.
It's the other people. It's not her. It's a whole- just-
All right. Emily, you are first on the list for our EMD update for the COVID policy.
All right. It's nice to be in person.
Yes.
So I just shared some thoughts on an updated policy for employees, looking at the changes in some of the state guidelines. I think
Excuse
two
me.
big things with the resources that were referenced in the policy. We went from now moving from the universal guidelines to universal best practices, and also the updates to the guidelines regarding travel now that, well, at least for folks who are vaccinated. So the state put forward some new guidelines regarding that. And also just in light of the state now ending a state of emergency as of June 11th. So a lot of those different things that were in place, all the different emergency orders are now no longer in effect. So I thought it might be time to reference these new resources, and then looking at where you might want to just mention between vaccinated and unvaccinated employees in terms of how they should quarantine or not quarantine based on that. So I just put that forward and whatever thoughts you all might have. The other thing that I know had been going on is we had enacted some contact tracing for the different buildings,
Mhm.
and recommend that can come to an end at this point. While the state is not under a state of emergency per se, it's still under a public health incident in the classification of that. And so there are still some resources and supports that can still come through. But for example, the public health services is not doing contact tracing anymore, or can support that. So and seeing that there are not too many people signing in and signing out.
Right.
It's just looking at sort of the consistency of policies, and let's slowly, again, as Frank was mentioning, this continually shifting landscape, knowing we might have to go back again, we're not sure. There's going to be one more statewide conference call next week, and then the Emergency Operations Center is going to be ending those as well.
So a couple of questions that I have just to make sure I'm on the right page and clarify. We cannot require employees to get vaccinated, is that correct?
That's correct.
And we can't ask employees if they have or have not been vaccinated?
That's correct.
Okay, so in that case where we may have employees that are either at risk or have families that are not vaccinated, we were talking a little bit before the meeting about masking still in the building, and if you're in a meeting and if there's a consensus to unmask, or should we keep the consistency, or is that where we have to?
Where I've had people come up to me like, what's going on? Because they say mask required, and then I come in and not everybody has masks on.
Right.
So I was starting to jot down like mask required when you were moving about the building. So if you're seated, you can take your mask off to speak, because you're trying to also capture what people are saying. It's just some consistency and that sense of respect to others who might be in more vulnerable positions that you can't ask them about. You just want to show that that respect of whatever decision they make for themselves. So, but it's just that consistency.
So I think that's good common sense. And it seems like that's what we're doing here right now. Sort of, yes.
Right, well,
I mean, if I get up
I'm
and I
looking
go-
at mask required,
Yeah.
and so.
So
We're sitting,
Right, exactly.
all right,
And you explained
and
that
with,
before
there's a
the
distance,
meeting.
so we're okay there, right?
Yeah.
Now, but if I were to get up to go out and do something, I should put my mask back on.
Well,
You know, if there's
Yeah.
somebody in the office that, there's someone sensitive to that,
and you know that without,
I'm being cautious,
Yeah,
you know?
exactly.
And, it's like sort of like the way it was in restaurants, but, they always say, of course, when you eat, you gotta take your mask down, but then if you go to the bathroom or put your mask back on and walk and then come back and then that
And now,
kind of thing,
It's crazy. I mean, all of this has been very challenging.
yeah,
I don't see going to a mask optional policy would necessarily be a recommendation for, the way folks might be feeling about everything. So,
and of course we're keeping in mind that we're only talking about town buildings at this point. This is not
Oh.
businesses in
No,
town.
no, no,
This is
no.
not
Yeah,
anywhere
this
else.
is
This
pure-
is purely
Yes.
town buildings.
yes, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Because
and I do have to
businesses
say
are
that
able
pretty
to-
much I do believe all towns in the state, those who continue to keep their mask policies after the state had stopped their mask mandate, those cities and towns, I believe, have all ended their mask mandates as well. So yeah, it's just having some sort of consistency just in the policies. And I think the biggest thing here is just that. When you're referring to this, just updating the resources that people are using for guidelines, because that's the latest information that's out there. So, and again, the New Hampshire Municipal Association has been super helpful. I think I shared that link to their website, all their COVID-19 resources. I know a number of different towns with the transitioning to in-person meetings, how some of those different policies were being affected with the end of the emergency. the state of emergency, what that was doing to some of those different meetings and stuff like that, so.
So then one of the other things is obviously the big word we always use is enforcement. So
Yeah.
while we're in the office here, we're very small and aware of who's masking and not masking, and we know that certain people have children that are not vaccinated, so we're aware of that. But it might be different in the PD, the fire department, and the town garage. So enforcement is really left up to the trust of the managers and department heads to enforce what these are. But we really don't have a accountability of
Right.
discipline or anything. So we're really using this to recommend the policy
Yeah.
and to make judgment calls and be respectful of all the employees.
That's
Within the
what I
town
like to
building?
think, yeah, the intention, and the education aspect, you know, here's the latest information, but then to just, yeah, be with it, and knowing the folks that you're with,
Right.
so.
So, any thoughts, guys?
I think to be as cautious as we can be, as we just move out of this era and into something that
Yeah.
it used to be, okay? Makes the most sense, right?
So continuing, yeah, I mean, I think
Right.
this is the
This is
building
what we're
where,
Yeah,
you know,
a lot of air moving around.
you have folks coming and going, but whatever you
Yeah.
wanna do.
You think?
Yeah, I think in light of the fact that we do have employees that are sensitive to this, we should keep masks required in the building. If, you know, I'm not gonna say anything else as far as inconsistencies. Again, this can change next month if things change, and we can revisit it if it changes and children get vaccinated and other people are not at risk, et cetera. But, you know, I'm enjoying being vaccinated and being out in the public and not having to wear masks. It's a wonderful thing again, but I think we still have to be respectful. So I'm in favor of amending the policy to what you have here for the new guidelines and still keeping it masks required in the town buildings. Any thoughts?
You know, no one ever has to ask me if I've been vaccinated, because I just tell people, I've
Me
been
too.
Well, yeah,
vaccinated.
that's the other thing,
I've
it's
been
kind of
not
the new
facing.
reading high.
Yeah.
How does everybody feel? If everybody's wearing a mask in here now, what do you think of what we're talking about? Is this acceptable kind of?
It makes sense to me. We're not out of this thing yet.
I'm sorry, can you pull your mask down? I can't hear you.
Yeah.
Right.
It's okay.
Sorry, I couldn't resist.
That's
You did that on purpose, didn't you?
No, I'm a straight man, okay.
All right, so I'll take a motion to approve this draft, and then we'll print it up and sign it. So,
Thank you, Emily. Wow,
yes.
Yeah,
that's nice, that's good. Staying on top of this.
and then no more contact tracing either.
Right, no more contact tracing, and that sound good, Julie?
I'll make a motion to approve the changes to the COVID municipal employee guidance policies.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
All right.
All right, thank you. Yes, thank you, Emily.
Yeah,
Appreciate
sure.
it again. All right, so this is an interesting topic, the Grays Inn Garage and Friends of the Library and the black hole that we call our storage facility. I really appreciate this informal inventory, and it's amazing what is in there. So this was brought to our attention because I think through some of COVID and just opening the doors again to see what's in the office of the Grace Inn Garage. Jay isn't here today, but it's come to his attention as well that there's just a lot of stuff in there. And why I related it to COVID too is I know that Lycan has taken books in and put them in there, and she stores books also just because she doesn't have enough room in the library. So the purpose of this being an agenda item is to figure out what needs to be done to clean it out, whose responsibility it is, who owns which, square footage of the building, and who's responsible for that. So, did you want to talk at all about your inventory?
We could, and I have extras of these guys if you guys wanna just be in on this.
There isn't much there, it's worth anything.
Yeah. Let's see.
So all of this stuff is in the crazy garage.
Mhm.
Sounds like a big rush.
Okay.
This, all came about when we had our annual Friends meeting just a little while ago. And Melinda and Greg Foley, Marcello Foley, Marcello Foley, however they pronounce it, were there, and they've really become very active with the idea of the book sale. Not going to be this year, of course, it's Memorial Day, so you all know that. But we're planning for a 2022 book sale, which was highly popular in its day and earned, you know, a fair amount of money. It was a community gathering. It was just great. So they're in the they're accepting donations. You may have seen it on Jackson E! News that we're accepting donations and to come down to where they are. And they spend 2 or 3 hours every other Saturday or something collecting books from people for. Well, we're just running out of space is the problem, and also that room is a little bit of a hazard for anyone who's there. It's just, it needs attention of some sort, and I did say, I tried to be tactful because apparently some of them, the items there are valuable in terms of the fire department, they're historical value. But they're not maintained, they're not clean, they're not stacked carefully, they're, you know, so it just seems like things have been kind of dumped there. So I said the following is a list of old soiled items found in the room, and we would very much like as a group to restore that right-hand side as you walk in the front door, the right-hand side of that building, which Alan told me, my husband, was the old water precinct building before, as he put it, they got their fancy digs over by the river. So that was interesting to me. And then a couple of people in the office have mentioned the value of that old highway. It's Gray's in, but it was also the whole old highway department building. Right. And it's in terrible condition. There are holes in it where animals are coming in and spending the winter, and it's sort of like Fisher Cove Bay. We've got to figure out what we want to do with that. I mean, that's our feeling. But in getting back to the Friends, we'd like to empty that room, and we'd be happy to lend manpower to that venture, so we can clean it and store more books because we're running out of space for the book sale. Sorry?
And to process books. This is a dynamic situation. We're not just storing books there. People bring books in, and we go through them.
Selected.
We call out the books that we think are going to sell, and the others we take off and go to the dump or donate or get rid of them another way. So it's a dynamic thing, and we need the space to really do that. Through the summer, through the spring, summer, and fall. Wintertime, we just close down.
And just as a townspeople, I really think something needs to be done with that area to start with, because it could be very instantly usable and would be used. And then to sort of like check out that building. Is it safe, for example? Can it be used for other things? We have a volunteer group that comes and patches holes and cleans that whole thing. It's a huge building.
So how did the library end up getting space in the old highway garage and stuff? Anybody remember?
We
Recollection?
went to Patrick. Yeah, you went.
Yes. We actually went and talked with Patrick Kelly.
Okay.
And he very graciously gave us, there's a little room just beyond there, where he said, you're welcome to store your books for your sale in there. And so we helped him clean out that room, and we put down pallets and everything, and we have been storing our books for the sale in there. But we also have needed more space. He said, you can store some more in this other front room.
The office area?
But, you know, we got limited space there, and so we said, okay, fine, we'll deal with that. But as it's turning out now, we just need more space so that we can process those books And,
When did this happen?
when we talked with Patrick Kelly,
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it's been several years now, 3, 4 years.
Okay,
we've
just,
been
it
using
wasn't 2 weeks ago and it wasn't
They
a
said
century ago, got it.
There's no problem with you using that, so.
Okay,
see, it was unclear just who to go to about that.
right, that's what I was thinking, is it,
And we
Jay or
asked
is
Patrick,
it
and he
Pat
said,
or-
well, things usually fall on his shoulders because, they say, okay, Patrick, deal with it when anything comes up.
Because it was the old highway department building.
Yeah,
That's the
yeah.
deal.
Well, it became, after we bought it, we didn't have enough room, so we would just move our equipment in there until the new highway department was built.
and so,
Because we
but
bought the
there's a
grazing
lot
property.
of, but there's a lot of fire equipment in there
Yeah,
as well?
Oh, yeah, everybody's been using
Okay.
it.
It's
That's,
still an important building.
yeah,
Yeah.
of course it is. Yeah,
Yeah,
it sits on 3
It's
acres
obvious
there.
that, Patrick has to put things in there, and everybody
Right.
got their overflow. Nobody has enough storage space,
Mm.
and that building is served really well for
Yeah,
that.
yeah, it
Mhm.
has. So where are we gonna put all of this when you move it?
Well, that's,
Kevin's got his hand.
yeah.
So-
Kevin?
I can talk to Jay about that, because I know we have a lot of stuff just needs to be organized. And a lot of it does not need to be in there, put it that way. We have the old salt shed that could put some stuff in there,
Right.
just to get that out of there. And the town department, Pat's guys did a really good job of, they were recently in there cleaning stuff up and organizing stuff. I think we have a couple bays in there too, we got rid of a bunch of stuff. So it has been organized. I know the police department has a lot of older stuff in the back too. And just on another note, when we do get big floods, the
Yeah.
back of that garage,
Yeah,
the
it's
water
some
levels
water.
are right there.
Ooh, yeah.
So,
Yeah, so, as far as whose responsibility it is, or whoever owns each of these inventory items needs to take the responsibility for finding a home for them, determining whether they're worth anything or in good condition or not, and if they should go to the transfer station or be salvaged somehow or sold or whatever. So, Kevin, do you want to talk to Jay about that?
Yeah, I'm gonna see him right after
After
this
this?
meeting, actually. We have training
Okay.
tonight, and I'll discuss that.
Good.
I'm
And
sure
then,
he'll follow up.
Yeah, and then let's, make sure that everyone is in agreement with how much real estate people own in that part of the building, so everyone that has something in there should have an agreement that they, hold claim to 5 by 5 feet, or, the front office, or whatever, because, and I don't know how easy that's gonna be, so let's leave it on the agenda for the next meeting, and if you guys can talk amongst the owners of all of these inventory items and figure out the best way to dispose of them. Like you said, if we have a community cleanup, raised garage event or something where we can assist. No,
Thinking about the entire garage.
I know, I'm,
So just move everything to the left side.
yeah.
Yeah, this is really a very small, what would you say, 8 by 12?
Oh,
Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
small
all
one.
right. All right.
So,
15 maybe.
So-
does that sound reasonable, Emily?
I was just gonna say, it could be the perfect galvanizing incident. You're gonna clean out the whole space. I just had the Jackson Historical Society too, it might be interesting, suddenly everything
30 years.
is maybe vintage and
Yeah,
would be
Yeah.
of interest to them. It could also be really helpful as we go through our emergency operations plan update, I have to do a resource inventory, so Kevin, I'll connect and stuff on some of that, because there's gonna be things we need to get a little more organized.
okay, so if you all could work together and give an update at the next meeting,
Okay.
that would be great. I did talk to Jay as well, and he said, one man's trash is another man's treasure, and so some of the stuff that does look old and not taken care of is still worth something, but we need to determine that, so
Exactly,
that'd
like
be
the
great.
old fabric hoses. And there was another really antique, these foldable buckets that were also made out of heavy duty fabric.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's.
Historical Society would love those.
And I was gonna say, if nothing else, we'll call the American Pickers and see if they can take anything off our hands.
But the upshot is, yeah,
Yeah.
use the space, let's
Yeah.
get it going,
And I
work in
would
that
like to-
direction.
We can also garner a lot of people, volunteers from the Friends, to help with any, venture, and certainly we're happy to clean it after the things are gone.
Great.
And I was just thinking that some of the things could just be put in the big Grays
Space.
building,
Yeah.
call it. As opposed to that room, just move them to another spot
Mhm.
and then slowly deal with
Whatever needs to be done.
to be continued.
Yes, well, again, I appreciate you putting together the inventory, and we'll wait to hear
Thank
what
you.
progress we have next meeting.
Thank you for your time.
Yes, thank you.
Do you think they can go right in and get rid of that broken fluorescent light? Just
That
take
probably
that
could
out.
go.
No,
That probably could go.
There was a definite sort
I
of,
don't need it.
don't touch anything.
Oh.
Yes.
That's not yours, John.
it's very territorial, yeah.
So,
True that.
Okay, so to be continued.
thank you.
Thank you so much. All right, so the next agenda item is the stump dump, and boy, have we gotten some input on this one. So it started out with a thought that maybe we should close the stump dump, or it has already been closed, and so Julie, you went back and found some emails, or Julie Atwell did, and tracked down some old information.
Yeah.
In the meantime, we found that there were many people that still do use it. So I don't know how much conversation we need to have on this, other than the fact that it probably still needs to be kept open because there are people that use it. Is it being used appropriately? Is there proper access to it? Whose responsibility is it to maintain it? And Chris, do you want to speak to this at all?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I'm one of the users of the stump dump.
Mhm.
Okay.
One of the few, maybe. But, you know, and I was talking with Kevin quite a bit about this, you know, it's a real treasure to have that facility here in Jackson for residents. I mean, if you've got a stump and you gotta get rid of it, and you don't have a stump dump, what are your options?
Mhm.
None of them are good, you know, and so having that available, I think, is really important as far as how it's being used. Every time I've been up there, and certainly I ski past it every winter a bunch of times, as far as I can tell, it's being used appropriately. The only thing in there is stumps,
Mhm.
as the rules suggest. I mean, there doesn't appear to be any, you know, trash or tires or, you know, anything that isn't, you know,
Stumps.
supposed to be there. So I
Right.
think it's being used appropriately as far as I can tell, as a
And
person's.
and I agree with you. There's one issue that's come up, okay, in this whole thing, and that is knotwood. Have you heard of knotwood, okay?
Yes,
And some of that has been apparently introduced up there. Okay, so I guess that's why the Forest Service and the Conservation Commission would like to see it stopped, to close it down. That was their suggestion, and it has been, okay, but that has not happened. And I believe there are votes here to keep the thing open right now anyway, okay? But that has been a concern. I talked to Pat about it. You know, on occasion, he has to go up there with a front end loader
Mhm.
and move some of the stumps back.
Sure.
I spoke to Fred Henry, who's another person who uses it quite a bit, and he's actually helped the town out and gone up there and moved some of that stuff around. Now, one thing they did say to me today when I was talking to Pat and the road crew is that they are kind of running out of room a little bit because it goes right up to the Forest Service land and it's starting to fill up a bit. That was just about the only concern there. But,
So what is the solution for that then?
well,
Can we do a burn?
I don't know if there is a solution. That hasn't happened yet, and I guess we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. You know?
And maybe Pat has some idea on that as well, or to find out a solution for that before it becomes too dire that we have to close it because there's no
Right.
space. So, who has keys?
Pat,
I just thought we did, and Pat does.
Pat has.
Okay, so who's allowed, anyone is allowed to dump there, or do they have to come get a
They
key?
come get the key and they
They
send
have
it
to ask
out.
permission.
Okay,
The only person that I've ever given a key to is Chris and Dean Davis.
Yeah,
Okay.
okay.
Fred does,
Right,
yeah.
I know, there's the same regular.
He might have the donkey.
Yeah. That's possible, I don't know, but.
the best way to find out who has keys is to change the lock.
Right,
But,
exactly.
You know,
but if it's not being, I mean, if it's not a problem, then if that system is still working, then that's
Yeah.
fine.
yeah,
Never been-
I do,
Never had any issues.
only because everybody gets, wound up about knotwood, and it is invasive and
Mhm.
probably shouldn't be there as it is in some of around the river and some of the culverts and this and that. And we do have a program and we sort of deal with it, okay, where they cut it, they use some chemical sprays and they get rid of it. And according to Pat, over years, the more you use the chemical spray, the less comes back every year until it's gone, okay, as well as cutting. So I would say that we should probably have Pat at least keep an eye on that up there
Yeah.
to make sure it doesn't spread any more than it does. I haven't been up there in like 30 years, so I don't know. What are you seeing up there? Is there a lot of this knotwood? Would you?
I didn't happen to notice any the last time I was up there. All I saw was stumps. Now, on the other hand, I wasn't really looking for it
Mhm.
either. So
Pat said there were a few stalks, but he didn't think it wasn't being overrun, but
Okay.
it can get overrun if you don't do something about it.
it's very
So maybe that should just be part of this thing. We keep it open, but we
Yeah.
clean it
so-
up, make sure that we
And make
deal
sure
with the
Pat's,
knotwood.
and make sure Pat's on the same page as
Oh,
far
yeah,
as,
he's-
if he finds anyone that's not following the rules,
Mhm.
whatever, and if
Yeah.
it looks like he's running out of space, then finding a solution for that, so.
Mhm.
Well, it does have limited access, so we know who's going up there.
Exactly.
So, we
It's
can
not like
control
you're-
how much is being spent up there, or
Yeah.
time that's being spent up there, and stuff dropped off. The knotwood, we've taken, not weed, I guess.
No, weed,
But
okay.
knotweed, we did what was probably about 6 years ago, I think we
Yeah.
raised about $5,000 to go around
Eradicate.
town and
Oh, yeah.
take care of that.
Uh-huh.
Guy we hired to manage that for us, and it did fairly well.
Good.
It's back, I mean, it's definitely
Yeah.
back by my house too.
Okay, all right.
But, that's something maybe we have to consider in the future is, maybe treating that as well as doing another loop around town. I know some people aren't happy about adding chemicals. I'm not really happy
Yeah.
about adding
Not
chemicals.
as
Right.
particularly in the river
But it
itself.
does take over. I mean, if you look at Storyland, it's just
Yeah.
engrossed
Yeah.
their parking lot over there, so.
Yeah,
But yeah, that's something to think about. But again, we have control of what goes up there, so it's not, I don't know how much Dean and Rick use that, but
not very
like I
good.
said, you've been up there, Chris, so
It's not
Yeah, I
very
was-
often.
as long as it's not full,
I was
Yeah.
up there last week, and I can say that I probably put the first stump up there this calendar year.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Because last
I-
winter, everything was well weathered. It looked like it'd been there since at least last winter.
All right, well, I'm glad we heard feedback, so we didn't say, yeah, close it up and
Nope.
let's be done. So, thanks for your input, Chris and
Yeah.
Frank, for doing the work there too. I don't think we need to make any motions since it's
No,
open
it was
and,
never closed.
it's
so
an open and
it's-
closed case here, so perfect. Yeah. So, the poll tax settlement is still with attorneys, so there's really no update on that. We'll keep it on the agenda until we have an update on that, so nothing there. The next is the Valley Crossroad Bridge, and Burr has been working with the Connors family that owns the house that is, that abuts the bridge and the river. So he drafted a letter, which I haven't read yet, and he wanted us to okay the letter to send to Mr. Connors. So I think we need to read that and make a decision whether or not to send this to them. And it's basically a construction easement, and we can't move forward until they sign the easement, so,
Was it
or
also
sign until they
about the
agree.
DeBellion house? Is that?
yes.
Oh, okay.
Correct. So, is this something that is urgent, or can we have time
I
to
don't
read
think it
this?
is.
I don't think it's.
I mean, certainly something we could look at now or this week, and then the
Yeah.
next meeting decide whether,
So-
approve it.
Yeah, because, I'm just, pulling up the letter, so we will look at the abutter letter, if you guys will, and if you need copies, let Julie know, and then we'll make a decision on whether or not we can sign that, or if we have any questions, we can call Burr in the meantime and sign that on the next meeting, if okay. All right,
Sounds good.
the next issue is trustees of the trust fund withdrawal. So this is, dear trustees, the Board of Selectmen are requesting the following withdrawals from the trust fund as indicated below. $163 from the Wentworth Wildcat Fund 0029, invoice 163118 dated 6/7/2021 from Megaprint Incorporated, and this is for signage for the Jackson Falls area. So I will take a motion to approve the disbursement.
I'll make a motion to approve the disbursement of the
Second.
trustees of the trust funds.
And signature, please.
All those in favor?
All those in favor? Thank you. I was too busy signing.
Get a
the
little
letter.
ahead of ourselves, aren't we? gonna have to hit Willis and leave
Yeah.
every tournament.
Oh, gosh.
Can't do that to you now.
I'm gonna wear some body armor here. All right, the next is a thank you letter to Dr. Carrier, Jerry and Del Carrier, which I will read into the minutes here. Dear Jerry and Del, the Board of Selectmen would like to extend our sincere gratitude for your donation of $65, which pays for the irrigation system to be turned on yearly. This system provides the water to the Heritage Trail Garden in front of the town office building, which is maintained by the Mountain Garden Club. Again, we can't thank you enough for your thoughtfulness. It is people like you that make Jackson such a wonderful town. Signed by the selectmen, and it is true.
Very nice.
Yeah, and the garden club does an amazing job as well. So we're very fortunate to have the volunteers that we do.
Side note on Dr. Courier, many years ago, several years ago, not many, but he did the Wounded Warriors program, and that was outstanding, and thank him for that, because
Yeah.
that was a great experience, those families that came up here and spent the weekend with us.
That's neat.
And
That's good
he was
stuff.
obviously a big contributor to that.
Very nice. Thanks for
And I
sharing.
got to see him yesterday, the other day, so it was nice.
Nice. All right, the next is a letter to Bill Wogish, who happens to be my father, and takes great pride in donating to cover the flags that are put on the grave markers at Jackson and Dundee cemeteries. So I will read this into the minutes as well. Dear Bill, the Board of Selectmen would like to extend our sincere gratitude for your donation of $90 to the Bartlett Veterans of Foreign Wars, Post 5386. Your donation provided 60 grave marker flags placed on the Jackson and Dundee cemeteries this spring. Your thoughtfulness is appreciated by the families of the servicemen and women whose graves these flags will be placed on. The town greatly appreciates your continued donation to cover the cost of this important recognition of our war veterans. Thank you, Mr. Wogish.
You've been doing it
You should've said
for
dear
many
Dad.
years.
Yes.
should have said
Dear
Dad.
Dad.
Dear
Yes.
Dad, your dad.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Nepotism.
I heard that you were calling him Bill, I don't think he'd like that.
Yeah, I call him many things. So.
Most of us
Thank
have.
you. Yes, true. Anyone that knows him has called him many things. All right, we have a couple additions on the agenda that went out earlier. One is about the Wentworth Golf Course. So we had a complaint, and Diana Bell wrote in this complaint and would like to read this into the minutes. So to the selectmen, thank you for reading and thank you for all you do for our town. The end. No, just Wentworth Golf Course. Sorry. Wentworth Golf Course is breaking numerous code enforcement violations by having open waste baskets for food containers at all 18 holes. The food waste is left for multiple days and nights. This food waste attracts rodents and animals to the condos, to downtown, and it is not permitted under law. The food waste must be picked up every evening. Code enforcement for the town of Jackson, for the state of New Hampshire, and for all business operating with a business license mandates proper trash storage and removal. At no time is a business operating with a business license anywhere in the U.S. is allowed to have open waste containers with food waste and food containers left out at any time. They cannot have food waste and food containers out in the open. It must be contained properly and secured against rodents and animals. The golf course is causing a sanitation problem with its practices. It is attracting rats, mice, and animals to the Wentworth condo area and to downtown. The golf course must operate according to the law, or its license to operate can be suspended. So Frank, you did make a phone call?
I called and then I went over to see Mike Mallet, who owns the golf course, and he wasn't there. But I left a message with his daughter, and he'll call me and just, say, you really have to clean some of this stuff up.
Right.
And I don't think that'll be a problem. As I said, the golf season just sort of ramped up. So, a little warning to the wise is sufficient, I believe. This will be cleaned up and we won't have a problem.
Right.
But I'm waiting. I will report back in a couple of weeks or whenever,
Thanks.
when Mike gets back and says, this is what I'm going to do.
Yeah,
And we will.
I agree with all the things that Diana said, that we can have trash out, and I'm sure it will be remedied. So,
Just a quick sweep. I used to do it at Hales all the time.
Yeah.
Okay, sure. You
Drive right through there and pull
Yeah,
it right out.
pull it
It'd
out.
take 20 minutes.
I don't, you know, well, I golfed there last year, once a year or so, but I don't remember, has there ever been covers over the garbage? Not that, I'm not, you know.
Mostly
Just
beer
go-
cans and soda.
Oh, sure,
yeah.
exactly.
The ones that
Not
don't
much
make it onto
food,
Carter
right,
Notch
right.
Road, right?
Although they do have Madeleines there, and they, you know, serve sandwiches, and people are dropping them
Sure.
off. But it was after that, that's probably.
So how would you recommend he just clean that up, just like you said, make it
Just
clean,
make
go
it
to
right.
sleep and go in there
Go
and
around,
just do it once a
you know,
day or
Over the
once?
cart once a day at the end of the night.
That's it,
pick
okay.
up. It's not-
All right, I'm sure he'll do it.
I
And
can't
maybe
imagine
he's having
this is
trouble
his,
getting help.
yeah, and I can't imagine this is his first time
No,
having that, so
I wouldn't think so.
I'm sure.
It's the
he'll-
first time we've received a complaint about it, though.
Yeah.
So my,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, all right, and then another addition on the agenda is the old library opening. So we did get a request from the old library management committee, Alicia Hawks, Barbara Terrio, Marilyn Rhodes, and Ellie Spears. And they're hoping that we agree that the old library can be open to the groups that use the building on a regular basis in the past, and for new folks that want to use it for occasional meetings. I would love to see it open again. As this is a town building, we just made some rules about masking and social distancing, et cetera, as to the new mandates, so those would have to be followed by these meetings, but I'm also all for opening the library back up and
Yeah.
letting them start having their gatherings there. Any other thoughts?
it's like,
Do you have to make a motion to that effect? To
I-
reopen the library, or,
I think
because I'll be glad to make it.
yeah, let's do it
Let's
and
do it
make it
officially.
official.
Okay, I'll make that motion to reopen the old library.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, aye.
Awesome. And you will let Marilyn know then, Julie?
Yeah.
Thank you. That'll be nice to,
And Julie will tell them about the protocols, just a reminder.
Yep,
Yeah, it's great.
I'll probably make a sign, put over there too.
smart.
I
Yeah,
can send you a good one-page flyer that a lot of,
that would be great.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's excellent.
Okay.
Perfect.
Yeah, thank you.
Coming out of the COVID slumber.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, moving on to our most popular topic of short-term rentals. Let's see, there are 3 copies here of Julie's notes, so. Here we go.
That deserves a
Oh,
song.
those three. Yeah. All right, so the first one is Kevin and Catherine Breen at 95 Whitney Hill Loop. And they are advertising 3 bedrooms, sleeping 8, which is okay, and everything else is fine for their conditional use permit. So I will take a motion to approve 95 Whitney Hill Loop.
I'll make a motion that we approve 95 Whitney Hill Loop, STR.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. The next is for 61U02 Eastfield Road, Matthew Hardy Dormer, and this is advertising 3 bedrooms, sleeps 8. And it's limited to 30 rentals annually, but their application is incomplete as they did not provide a New Hampshire contact person for processing any legal proceedings or notifications. So we will not approve this one at the time, and we'll notify them that they need to have a local contact.
And when we
Yeah,
say,
I've
we-
tried to
there
contact
we
them
go.
a couple times and they have not responded, so.
Okay.
when did you, how long has this been, this just happened, right?
Just happened, yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so
Yeah.
keep trying and then,
In the meantime, if they're still renting though, we're gonna have to really try to contact them and then file a violation. So let us know if we can, and then we'll make a motion to file a violation by the next meeting if we haven't gotten in touch with them. And again, this is why we need a local contact.
Right.
So, we need to make a motion to deny this application.
I'll make a motion to deny.
second,
Matt Dormer.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, the next is 91 Jackson Highlands Road, Anita Finnan, and this is advertising a 3-bedroom, sleep 6, which is okay. You have a note limited to 30 rentals annually. Is that because these are new
Yes.
the
Yep, they're new
grandfather
owners.
clause, which
Yes,
is not a good term to
correct.
use, but okay.
Yes.
So they are limited to 30 rentals annually, but everything else is fine with their
Yeah. I'm
application.
just not sure how we're gonna,
Communicate that?
yes. Or how
Well,
are
I'm
we
trying to-
going to know how many times they're
Yeah.
renting?
Exactly.
So,
This is a great question.
right, so what happened,
You do-
are you aware of why this is an issue now? Because the first year was, when we approved the conditional use permit, the building, or the short-term rentals that were already in place
Mhm.
didn't have to meet this
Right,
30,
right.
the cap of 30
Right, these are just
rentals.
new that came on since we've done
Right.
it. Okay.
So, do we communicate anything that their conditional use permit has been approved, other than having it approved at the meeting minute, or like
Yeah,
minutes,
we
or?
send a letter, we send approval letters. These are the first ones that we
Right.
received with the 30-day, with the
So-
30.
If we change the verbiage in that letter
Mhm.
and make the announcement in that letter that they are to adhere to the 30
Mhm.
and 30, maximum 30 rentals annually,
Yeah.
How are we gonna monitor that?
That's it.
then
That's the
again,
question.
enforcement and monitoring
They
is
should
always an
probably
issue.
provide us with their reservations, or, I don't know.
I don't know how to answer that today, and I think that's something that we definitely need to either maybe
Yeah.
converse with the planning board to see,
Yeah.
since they have made that
Mhm.
determination at the beginning when we wrote the
Right.
conditional use permit. So I'll talk to Bill
Okay.
Terry and we'll
Okay.
figure out what to do. It may make sense to do some housekeeping on the application
Mhm.
itself, or the conditional use permit itself, and then we'll talk about how to modify the letter that goes out that says it's been approved, but I don't feel at this time we should hold up the approval.
No.
No.
Okay,
But the whole who's counting is the biggest
yes.
question.
I can see that be a can of worms.
I agree.
You know,
So-
I don't know.
Again, let's go back to the planning board and find out why they set that limit,
Okay.
if there was a true reason for it, and how they envision enforcing it too.
Okay.
Well, I think it's just something about, to keep the calm and peaceful nature of our residential areas or something. And if you look at the zoning ordinance, it does say that.
You're so- No, I agree, yeah.
I don't know.
So,
Who's counting?
And they're assuming that the rentals are less than 2 weeks each. I mean, if they're
Exactly.
2 weeks each, you're only gonna get
you're only gonna get
40.
That's right.
Anyways,
That's
it's
right.
25 anyway.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah,
Usually
so
they are.
You don't
Yeah,
know.
so that was being part of that discussion.
The math.
The idea is that if you want to rent more, you could, more time, you could do one rental for 6 months, and that would really help out our housing issue here.
Right.
right,
Yes.
So that was kind of
I see. Okay.
a way to get folks to do that.
right,
Okay.
And the other way to maybe keep tabs is through the rooms and meals tax. Now,
that's a flat fee that you
Airbnb,
follow,
they file, that's.
Yeah, they have
for them, so
different ways for different groups.
It's changed. I mean, I used to have, when we did a short-term rental, I used to have to file that individually with the state, so you could see,
Right.
I had 5 rentals this month or 5 rentals.
Or if the state has a record of it, because they are
Well-
Oh, of course
receiving the
they do.
money.
They're receiving the money.
But I gotta
But-
tell you, when you file your meals and rooms tax returns online now, there is very little detail that you put,
So this is what I'm wondering, I think the system's
Yeah.
changed, because when we hand
Yeah.
wrote it,
It's very concise now, so, subject to audit, I'm sure, but
yeah.
again, I also feel like a can of worms could be opened by, and the administrative side of trying to open this, so
You
I
got it.
really wanna see what the intent was by limiting that, and the thoughts on monitoring it, so,
Yeah, it's the monitoring.
Yeah.
yeah. All right, well, in the meantime, though, I will take a motion to approve the 91 Jackson Highlands Road application.
I'll make a motion that we approve the 91 Jackson Highlands application for an STR.
I will second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
The next is 20 Adams Road, Hallery and John Haley, and that one is okay to approve. There is a 3-bedroom septic, and they're advertising for 3-bedroom sleep 7, so that's fine. I'll take a motion.
Okay, make a motion to accept 20 Adams Road STR for Haley, Hallery, and John.
I will second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And the next one is 18 Iron Mountain Road for Matthew and Elizabeth Thigpen. There's a 3-bedroom septic, 3-bedroom tax card, sleeping, advertised 3-bedroom sleeping 8, which is okay. Yep. hang on one second
Sure.
though, because they are on a classics road, which is not maintained in the winter. So, Kevin?
My comment is, I was in that place 6 months ago when it was for sale. I had a friend who was interested in possibly purchasing that. We went and looked at that and basically, I mean, I checked out everything, but while I was in there, they got one smoke detector, and the old pictures from the realtor shows all the rooms. There's brand new pictures from them advertising the actual Airbnb or whatever you want to call it, and it clearly shows in 2 of the rooms that there's no new smoke detectors. So I'm under the impression there's no new smoke detectors. The windows are, I know exactly what they are. They're Anderson 20 by 48s, which they only open 18 inches. 18 inches does not meet the requirement for existing homes for egress windows for occupants to get out of.
Okay.
That's number 2. I had another issue too, is when I was in there, it's actually 5 bedrooms. They're only advertising for 3, so they might eliminate this now. There's a room up on the 2nd floor. You go in, you shut the door, super small egress window, but it's got a loft. And a loft with a ladder, and those are not, you can't have that. So that's another issue. So it looks like to me they just purchased the place and they're like, let's short-term rentalists and let's not do anything.
Okay, so the way we do things and the way we decided to do things is that they filled out their application properly and their advertising properly, and through the course of your normal business, you have found out other issues with the property. So we can approve the application and file a violation notice with them after this is approved.
So my question too is, looking at the town ordinance, there's a thing in white item that says to ensure the safety of short-term occupants. I believe that the fire chief should get involved in this because the fire marshal office puts out a bulletin on egress windows, and that constitutes an imminent danger
Right.
that those windows are. So I believe that either the fire chief should send a letter too
Okay.
and follow up on this.
Um,
And there's no smoke detectors.
The other thing is that we're asking for a copy of the advertisement now to be submitted with their conditional use permit, so we can use that also as documentation when we file the violation,
Yeah.
and we'll inform the fire chief as to the violations as well, and move on those. So Julie, does that make sense for you?
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
So begrudgingly or unfortunately, I will take a motion to approve the conditional use permit, which they signed the affidavit on, and then we will in turn file a violation notice
Yeah.
process.
I'm still processing this one in my head, I'm sorry.
I know.
Don't.
What,
I'm listening to Kevin and what he's saying.
yes, and so
We
what
know what we
what
know.
happened down the road was, we did not want to assume that we could go to every, know everything about every application on a conditional use permit. And we can't pick and choose the information we know on the applicants. So based on what they have done and signed on the affidavit that they do have smoke detectors and proper egress, they're basically they're perjuring themselves when they sign the affidavit. And we said, by using this language, through the normal
Okay.
course of business, when Kevin finds out, because he finds out a lot of information about a lot of homes, then we file a violation notice, and it's documented in that process.
Okay.
It's hard to swallow, I agree with you.
Well,
But I don't think they
I
should, I
understand.
mean, in the case of egress windows, I mean, you know, we've had this issue before with a lot of other ones. And sometimes, you and I talked briefly before you were a selectman, so it
Right.
wasn't illegal,
well,
about, you know, the fact that do we conditionally approve these guys in hopes or in the future that
Okay.
they're gonna
Right.
replace these windows?
okay.
Or, and now
Or do
with
we
the,
just
the
deny it?
building materials being an issue, are they gonna still rent it
Right.
prior to having these windows
Mhm.
replaced, you know?
Right.
So I personally would think, since it's a window issue, not a
Smoke detector.
smoke detector, railing,
Right.
something where we would have to go inside the house, which we never do.
Mhm.
We would never know those
No,
instances.
that's right.
But this is something we could observe
Right.
from the outside,
Yeah.
Mhm.
and then we could say, okay, this isn't kosher. You know, so
Okay.
do we
All right,
want
so
to
I can-
approve it in the hopes
Then-
that they replace the windows and then rent it, or we deny it and they have to replace the windows and then rent it? That's, you know, so I personally
I'm,
do not in favor of approving, knowing that this thing could be a potential hazard.
then
That's my issue with it.
then I will take a motion to deny it, and I'm on board with that as well.
I'll make that motion, concur with what John had to say, but I'm hopeful that with this denial and they understand what they have to do, that they'll do that and then they'll be able to run their STR.
Okay, so I'm taking the motion to deny from you.
I will
and
second that
again,
denial.
all in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Aye. Julie, I will talk to you about that and contact the owner and let them know why this was denied and that they signed it, and make sure they understand what they signed. And Kevin, I'll talk to you about specifics and we'll go from there. Okay, so I'm gonna make a
I mean,
note.
this is an unusual case where Kevin actually was invited into the house and
Yes.
he observed
Oh,
it.
yep.
Oh, yeah,
Yep.
this is a nice spot.
Otherwise, we're putting the onus, like Barbara said, we're
I
putting the
think
onus
you
on
made
the
a great
owners.
motion. The
Yeah.
motion was perfect.
Okay, thank you guys. Thanks, Kevin. The last one here is 551 Black Mountain Road for Michael White, and this is it's a 2-bedroom, but it's advertised as 3-bedroom, sleep 6. So we do need to deny this until the ad is changed for the right amount of attendance or guests. So I'll take a motion to deny.
I'll make that motion to deny that permit.
Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I just have one question on it.
Yep.
The 2-bedroom building permit and 3-bedroom on the tax card.
What is it?
Yeah, so what happens, that happens a lot, actually. If Jason, the assessor, sees that there are 3 bedrooms in the house, he will put it on the tax card because they'll be assessed for 3 bedrooms.
I see.
But he doesn't necessarily, if this is an old house,
Right.
he doesn't necessarily look at the building permits.
And we really do go more on the building permit and the
Yeah.
septic than the tax card, correct?
Yes.
But it has no septic or no septic?
There's no
permit.
septic
No septic.
on file. If it's not in the property file,
Okay, but they obviously have a
No.
septic system, they don't.
yeah,
There's
it's,
probably no septic in that place anyway, it's probably just a steel barrel. You guys know where it is?
Now, where is 55?
It's on a class 6 road, it's up past the M. Peterson's.
Okay,
That class 6 road is on the left.
yeah,
Okay.
There's a gate, it's
I
always
know where it
locked.
is, yeah.
And the house is set back in there.
Interesting.
I actually have a question about that. So if they rent during the winter time, and this whole entire snowmobile thing on class 6 roads, can people who are intending to rent the place, can they bring a snowmobile and
I don't think that
go
was.
to the house?
No, it's
you
for
have to
owners
be a
only.
resident, yeah, owner.
Well, I'm just wondering, because I mean, it
Yeah.
hasn't happened, I
How do you get
haven't
there?
out yet, but I'm just waiting for the day that, you know, one of those places, because there's a lot of stuff going on Iron Mountain right now, you know.
Well, right, but you can use a snow machine if you want to, and the class 6 road, we can't stop people from going up there and using that, the way things are now. Isn't that not true?
I'm a little confused on the whole.
Well, I'm pretty sure, because I was talking to Pat today, we brought up that subject, you know.
Yeah,
It's one thing about maintaining the road, and that becomes a problem. They want to plow it,
Right, right,
whatever,
right.
because you can destroy the road, and the road has had some problems when all the culverts get full, and then water comes down that road, and there you have a problem. But
yeah.
the people who live up there are able to get there with a snow machine or whatever vehicle in the summertime, otherwise, but you can go up in a snow machine.
So
If you
if
want.
someone decides to rent,
But I think it was classified as the owners.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Can
can
use a
they
snow
just
machine.
start, can someone just come up there with a, you know? their
Well, I don't think you have
shovel?
to be an owner to go up Iron Mountain Road to use your snow machine to go up to the top. And now there's, as I understand, that big house on the top, John, is a sort of been, it's been reclassified and there's been conservation land up there and it's being able to be used by anybody, so you have to be able to get access to the road and use a snow machine, if that's what you want to do in the winter
Can we
time.
look at
Are
the
you aware
agreement
that there's
that
something
we,
going on there?
yeah, can we look at the agreement that we drew up for all the owners and just see if
yeah, we
it's
had 2
specific?
separate ones. One
Yeah.
was the waiver for the doing maintenance on the
Maintenance.
Well, we had done an
Yeah, there was
agreement
the
other
for
one
for the
was
owners
snowmobile.
up on the hills. That was just
Yeah.
separate for those people that have access in the winter via the snow machine.
That was like last,
Wait till the renters start
6
coming.
months ago maybe.
Yeah, that's an issue.
Yeah, let's look into that though, that's interesting, and just see,
Pat, again, has a little bit of knowledge about all this and has been
Yeah.
monitoring it.
okay,
Put that on the agenda for next
Please.
time.
yes, thank you. So on the under the pending issues, Nunez, it says here that his advertising has been updated.
Yes, he's updated it the
Okay.
second time, and now it is correct.
Okay,
Yes,
so it is, so,
We can prove that one.
I know.
We can make
He
an-
just did it
Okay.
yesterday. So.
nice. All right, so I will take a motion to approve Nunez, short-term rental conditional use permit.
I'll make the motion to approve Linda Nunez, STR, depending.
I will second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, the next one is for the Purdy's, and they will be at the next meeting to discuss this. This is for Carter Nutchin.
Yes.
So there's some discussion about whether or not it is a bed and breakfast or an inn or a short-term rental, and we're kind of going through the motions of learning more about what they intend. So we'll hold off that until the next meeting.
I mean, basically, the difference between a bed and breakfast and a short-term rental is the owner's actually in the building,
Right, there's an innkeeper or a
caretaker.
caretaker for the time that it's rented out, so they're determining what they want to do there. All right, the next on the agenda was 58 Dana Place Realty Trust, and we sent a first violation notice, but we have not heard back anything yet, so that is still,
Nothing yet, we still have a couple of weeks.
yeah,
Okay.
okay.
We give them
And-
30 days?
Yeah.
Is that?
30 days, yeah.
Yes.
Right.
And then the next one is for Anderson, and he did contact the office, and he will be submitting conditional use permit, so that will be on the
Next.
July agenda when the
Mhm.
planning board receives and reviews that. And then for McDonald, they did contact the office, and they took the advertisement down, and they are no longer renting, so,
I guess they haven't been for a while, and they just never took it down.
okay.
Would they like to do a long-term?
Yeah.
So, we did receive a complaint just today, I believe, for the Board of Alice River Village Association, and it's property that was rented in violation of Amendment 9, which prohibits short-term rentals of less than 30 days within an association. I'm not 100% sure, but I'm probably 95% sure that the association rules
But
would
there's-
trump
That's
the
Got it.
short-term rental complaint, so we'll confirm that and then direct it back to the person that complained.
Right, that would be
and
their,
from there,
yeah,
but
that
that's
group
their-
would have to deal with it.
Correct.
Yes.
So this isn't a complaint,
Properly.
it was filed as a complaint, but it's not something that we will be acting on and
Right.
sending to the owner.
I think the association thought that, they should file a short-term rental CUP with us, and then we deny it because of their amendment,
Mhm.
but,
Right, I don't
But I
think it even
don't-
needs to go
yeah.
far.
And this
so.
is, as I say, it's happening all over Conway. These
Oh, yeah.
associations are just
Did you-
changing
so-
their rules so that you can't do this, you know. But on the other hand, you can change them back too. So it's gonna be
Right.
interesting to see what happens and who's gonna end up in these board associations and the way they feel as we move forward. But
Yeah.
it's their business, not ours,
Correct.
pretty sure.
So did you wanted to send that to
She's
Peter?
gonna talk to somebody.
Yes.
You know, I'm
Or-
just gonna call him, because I think he'll
Okay.
probably know without having to enter into a
Okay.
billable hour.
No,
That,
you call them, you build it.
That was my
I'm
concern.
gonna see if he knows offhand without having to go to too much trouble.
Yes.
I bet he does,
Okay.
whether or not the association would trump our zoning ordinance, and then we
Okay.
can refer back to it there, so I will do that. So, Kevin, we have 5 new building permits on the agenda. Are there any concerns or questions about any of those?
Nope, all pretty straightforward.
Fantastic.
Yeah,
We have
And no real comments on those.
generators, solar panels, a new house renewal permit, and a second floor bathroom and dormer, so more building. And then we have an approved driveway permit on Dundee Road, so everything is good with that?
Yeah, that's an existing driveway that's there already.
Okay.
Type deal.
All right. Are there any before I announce the upcoming meetings, any other comments from the public? All right, we have one attendee on the Zoom meeting who, I'm not sure who it is, but I think what we're going to do for the next and upcoming meetings is meet in person. And if someone needs to attend and we need to set up a Zoom for that attendee, we will do it, but otherwise we will be in person only. It just is nice to see everyone, but I do want to have people available if they need to come and can't make it personally to the meeting. So it will be in person, July 13th at 3:30, Zoom only if needed. The next meeting after that is July 27th at 3:30, again in person. And then the meetings in August are on Tuesday, August 10th at 3:30 and Tuesday, August 24th at 3:30. Anything else, gentlemen? We'll take a motion to adjourn.
Public comments, any public comments?
I asked before I read these.
I didn't.
Anybody have any public comments after the meeting? All right,
Make a motion that we adjourn.
I will second that.
all in favor? Aye. Thank you all.
Thanks, Emily and everybody.
Thanks, Em.